Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and today I'm doing a viewer request, and it is for the 1997 film The Pest. Here is your trivia question for today. When Himmel was a child, he was locked in a room with a boa constrictor. What did he name it? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So, in the film The Pest, we meet our main character of Pestario Vargas, also known as Pest. Now, for the most part, Pest leeches off his family. He does, however, have an actual job where he works as a Chinese food delivery boy. Although, to be honest, his real career is as a con man. It does appear, though, that he's not very good at it, as he now owes a lot of money to the Scottish mob. Now, a man named Gustav and his assistant Leo might have a solution to Pest's money problems. All Pest has to do is follow them to Gustav's private island for a hunting trip. Now, once they actually get there, it's revealed that Gustav, Leo, and Gustav's son, Himmel, are in fact going to be hunting Pest. Now, if Pest can survive 24 hours on the island, he'll win $50,000. But if not, he'll end up as one of Gustav's trophies. This movie was directed by Paul Miller, who, by the way, has a brief cameo in the bar mitzvah scene as the father of the son who's having the bar mitzvah. The movie was primarily written by John Leguizamo's best friend, David Barr Katz, who John Leguizamo offered $1,000 to if he could write a screenplay, which he did in 3 days. Katz, by the way, does also have a brief cameo as one of the two guys out in the car in front of the Paris Club. Leguizamo did help with some of the screenplay and, of course, did quite a bit of improv throughout the film. By the way, if you didn't catch it when it's mentioned in the film, Pest's full name is Pestario Rivera Garcia Picante Salsa Vargas. Aside from Leguizamo, Jeffrey Jones as Gustav is probably the most recognizable actor in this film. I'm still saddened to this day that Jones ended up being a terrible person, though. One of my favorite characters in this film is Himmel, played by Eduardo Ballerini, but did you happen to know that this role almost went to Jamie Kennedy? There are also quite a few other actors that appear in this movie that you might only recognize their face but not their names. We have Freddie Rodriguez and Aries Spears, Tammy Townsend, Joe Morton, Charles Hallahan, and Tom McClyster. The cockatoo that appears in the opening segment was actually Leguizamo's pet bird, who he apparently did take around to multiple places with him. And speaking of animals, when filming this snake scene, Leguizamo was actually bit by it. He was rushed to the hospital to remove the fangs. That does make you wonder a bit if the sequence where he is fighting the fake snake right after that was Leguizamo's ability to get some sort of emotional revenge. Probably the most memorable sequence from this film is the opening song where Pest is in the shower and we hear the Pest/Voodoo Mambo. But did you happen to know that this song was an adaptation of Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang? Here's something you may have never noticed before, but the Chinese restaurant that Pest works at is called Fat Wong Fu. This is a reference to the film that Leguizamo was in called To Wong Fu Thanks for Everything Julie Newmar. Gustav's mansion that appears in this film was used 3 years prior in the movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Here's something that may or may not have been obvious, but a good portion of this movie was inspired by the short story The Most Dangerous Game by Richard Connell. Unfortunately, due to the box office failure of this movie, John Leguizamo was primarily seen only as a supporting actor going forward. There are actually 2 scenes in this movie that were added only after test audiences saw it. One scene that was added in was Pest playing basketball with the kids. The reason they put this in is the audience apparently felt that Pest was super unlikable. The second one that was added in was the first time we actually meet Ninja and Chubby. The reason this was added is the test audiences also could not understand why they were friends with Pest. This movie was filmed in Florida and in California. So when it comes to the film The Pest, this movie will always have a special place in my heart, as I did really enjoy it when I was much younger, and I do still think there are some funny sequences. But let's be honest, this movie is primarily just an opportunity for Leguizamo to put on a bunch of costumes and to do a bunch of different impressions and accents. There's also very little when it comes to an actual plot, and a lot of scenes that make absolutely no sense. So even though I'd really like to give it a better score, I'm going to have to give The Pest a 2 out of 5. Now, if you did enjoy this film, other movies I recommend checking out are Freddy Got Fingered, The Master of Disguise, Dr. Detroit, and Dirty Work. Now it's time to answer the trivia question from the beginning of this episode. When Himmel was a child, he was locked in a room with a boa constrictor. What did he name it? So once the name is revealed, Pest is really hoping that the snake was named after famous French playwright Jean Cocteau, but Himmel reveals that the name Cocteau is for his two favorite body parts. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's any movies you'd like to see get a trivia review, just mention them in the comments.